Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. And hope you're having a great start to your day. And we sure enjoy Question and Answer Friday, although we did Question and Answer Saturday a couple of times, and people seem to enjoy that. So, okay, who's going to be Lyle? You are number one. And Norland, is that you, Mike? Rosa, Nick from our staff, Kevin, there you are. Annette, New Brunswick, how you doing? Nouveau Brunswick. Carol, West Virginia. Oh, I want to sing. Rosalinda from Niagara Falls, good morning. Carrie from Nebraska. John, good morning. Patricia, good morning. Linda, Pennsylvania. Wendy from Markham. Shirley, Twin Gate, Newfoundland. Mary, how are you? Frida and Suzanne. Judy from Snowy Mitchell. Jeanette, good morning. Wanda, Florida Sunshine. Nellie, how are you? Gloria, nice to have you. Cecilia from Sudbury. Rosemary, Moncton, New Brunswick. Donna, Park Hill. Diane from LaSalle. Nancy, how is ya? Linda, another Linda from New Brunswick. We love Lindas. And Deb from Timmins, Yolande, bonjour, and Fran from Orangeville. All our dear friends, Scott, good morning, and Stephanie, and Stephanie's with Bob in Georgia, Rainey in Georgia, Lisa Marie, William, Markham, I just missed someone there, and Sherry. Oh, another song's coming out of my mouth. Sue, Jermaine, and Linda. Another Linda. Adeline. Okay. Sandra from Gander, Newfoundland. Chantal, Ottawa. How are you? Brahim, I've been waiting on you. How you doing? From Oregon. And Barbara. Oh, I want to sing too. Heidi and Lorna, Cloudy, Maryland. Carol, Mount Pearl, Newfoundland. Wow, Newfoundland's well represented. Sharon, Jeanette, hello. Regina, okay. Sandy, nice to have you on. And Denise, buenos dias. Nice to have you on too, Anne. Okay, let's get to our questions. We got lots of them. Always appreciated. Okay, and let's start off with Dale. Dr. Martin is always mentioning crappy carbs. I sure do say that a lot, don't I? What kind of carbs would be okay for a low-carb diet? Well, fruits and vegetables. After the reset, the carbohydrates in fruits and vegetables, real food, would be acceptable. Okay? And, someone, they sort of took me to task a little bit after one of the programs this week. They said, Dr. Martin, I thought you didn't like fruits and vegetables. And I tell you guys to eat from two kingdoms. Okay, because that's natural. You eat from the animal kingdom and don't avoid it, and the plant kingdom and don't avoid that either. For 30 days, I want you off the plant kingdom. There's a reason for it. There's more carbohydrates there. There's more oxalates there. There's more lectins there. Okay? And all I'm asking people is for 30 days to turn the ship around. But I'm not against fruits and vegetables. What I am against is if you live on fruits and vegetables. Okay, people ask me that all the time. Don't live on them. Don't avoid the animal kingdom. If you do, it's because you've been brainwashed. It's not science. Listen, I am not a carnivore. I'm not. I'm a nutrivore. Okay? And God wanted you to eat from the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. And again, the reset primarily was developed to get rid of insulin resistance. And that's why. And listen, today fruit is sweeter than it used to be. I call them God's candies. Don't live on fruit. We live in a different world. We live in where our insulin is the biggest thing in metabolic syndrome is insulin resistance, and therefore that has a huge impact on heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes. We live in a different world. So I'm very careful to tell people you can have plants. Just don't live on them. Minimize fruit. Doesn't mean you can't have any. Minimize them. Somebody's asking about oxalates. Look, what did I say about it? Don't live on plants. Somebody asked in even today. Let me see. I might as well get at it. Okay. And Dale, okay, mentioning crappy carb. Let me just lay out what that is. Middle aisles of your grocery store. Cereals. Okay? All of the packaged goods there are crappy carbs almost invariably. Okay? And when I say crappy carbs, I mean bread, pasta, rice, cereal, sugars, sweets, pastries, juice, milk, grocery store milk. Crappy carbs. Okay? That's my list. I could expand it, but generally I rhyme that off. I've been rhyming that off to my patients for years and years and years and years. I used to give them a list of foods and of crappy carbs. Okay. Now, Darlene, is osmosis water healthy water to drink? Because I understand it's stripped of all its minerals. Well, any water that's stripped of all its minerals is not the water I recommend. I like, the best water is spring water, okay? And because they naturally have it naturally has trace minerals in it. And trace minerals makes the water more alkaline. It's better water, okay? Who would have ever thought that we would pay for water? Ew. But we live in a different world, okay? You know, I always tell people my sports drink when I was a kid was drinking out of a hose, okay? We live in a different world today. So, yeah, what can I tell you, okay? So the best water is spring water. That's the best. You got a well or spring water that you can get, that's the best water in the world, okay? Sally, if you had adrenal fatigue, could you crave more meats for protein? Because if cortisol is high, it breaks down protein more. Cortisol is high, it breaks down protein more. If cortisol is high, I have to think about that. I don't agree with the second part of your question, Sally. Now, people usually with adrenal exhaustion crave sugars. They usually crave a quick fix because they have a high, what cortisol does is it elevates your blood sugar. Think of it. Okay? That's cortisol. Right? It's fight or flight. So that elevates your blood sugar. What goes up must come down. So usually when you get that kind of fluctuation in your body, you're not craving protein, although protein is what you should be eating. You're craving a quick fix, carbs. And that's a real problem with adrenal exhaustion. They want a quick fix because their sugar went up. Now they're suffering from hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, because their sugar crashes down. What goes up must come crashing down. And what I used to give them is the reset, in a sense that I wanted them to focus in on protein, because protein is the best thing for you. Protein and fat. Okay? Because now you get a slow burn. So it's much, much better for you. Okay? Dr. Martin, what are your thoughts on oil pulling? Beneficial? Nah. You see a lot of it. You know, I remember a couple of years ago, you know, it's probably a little longer than that, about 5 years ago, that everybody and their dog was talking to me about oil pulling. And, you know, it sort of was a new wave, and then you hardly heard about it again. You know, is it good for you? I don't know. You know? I don't know. I never paid that much attention to it because I didn't think it was as good as everybody said it was gonna be. And sort of, you know, it was like a fad, and then, you know, I've hardly heard of it since. But I guess it's not gonna hurt you. Okay? I don't know if that's a good answer, but... Okay, Susan, I had blood work done, and her calcium score was higher. High. Okay. Is that a cause for concern? Well, yeah. Yeah, your calcium score is higher. Look, this is really important, Susan, because if your calcium score is high, calcium is staying in your bloodstream, can cause plaque. Where does calcium belong? In your blood or in your bones or your teeth? Your bones and your teeth. It's not calcium that the problem is. The problem is calcium's in the wrong place. And you guys know the answer to this, unless you're new. What do you need to put calcium out of your bloodstream into your bones, Susan? Now, you might even know this answer, but I know my audience does, most of them, that follow me. Okay? Butter and cheese. Annette, you're absolutely right. Cherry, yes. K2. Red meat. Yeah, well, it has K2 in it. Yep. Butter. Wendy, K2. You guys know that. Deb, you know it. Wendy. Another Wendy. Jackie, K2. Barbara, omega-3. It's not a bad answer. It's not the best answer. And Cindy, you got it right. It's K2. Vince, it's K2. So, you see in nature, think about this for a minute. Okay, think about this for a minute. Is calcium good for you? Of course it's good for you. You need calcium. But I don't like calcium in a supplement. I like calcium in food. Isn't it interesting that when you eat calcium in food, primarily, God puts vitamin K2 with it. So when you eat a piece of cheese, why do you think I love cheese so much? You have calcium. Everybody knows cheese has calcium. The dairy industry tells you that every day. But what they don't tell you is that it has vitamin K2, and that takes calcium and puts it in your bones and your teeth where calcium belongs. We have vitamin D. Vitamin D helps with bone. Everybody knows that. Even doctors know that. But I like K2 with vitamin D because it takes the calcium that the bone, that the vitamin D, and it puts it where it belongs. You see, that's the key. So if you have a high calcium score, that's calcium in your blood, you really need vitamin K2. I talk to you about this all the time because vitamin K2 is like the Rodney Dangerfield of vitamins. It gets no respect because people don't understand. And if you insist on being a vegetarian or a vegan, vitamin K2 is found in the animal kingdom. Got it? You want to have less heart disease? You want to eat animal products. Have I been consistent? As consistent as the day is long. Can I change my mind? Nope. Because that's what food is based on. Okay? You want a healthy heart? Eat eggs, meat, and cheese. You want healthy blood vessels? Eat eggs, meat, and cheese. Okay? So Sandra, you're not eating enough eggs, meat, and cheese. You're not driving that calcium out of your bloodstream. I'm glad you asked the question, Susan. Okay. Francis, can Dr. Martin explain what we should do if you have dense breast tissue? Well, look, that makes you more susceptible to cancer. So what do? Well, one thing you should do is lower your oxalates. I just talked about them. Okay? Don't live on plants. I'm not saying you can't have any, but don't live on them. Don't ever make never drink almond milk. Okay? Never drink that stuff. That's full of oxalates, glass. That densifies, I don't know if that's a good word, your breast tissue, ladies and men in prostate tissue. Don't drink that stuff. Okay, now, here's what you do, Francis, if you've been told that you have dense breast tissue. Keep your estrogen down. Dim it out. Keep your estrogen down. Okay? And keep your insulin down. What are two growth hormones? Estrogen, insulin. And insulin's food. It's those crappy carbs that I was talking to Dale about. Get off that stuff. If you have any issues with breast cancer. Okay. Thanks for the question, Francis. Deed, what are liver spots caused from to get rid of them? Liver? You got liver spots. Well, look, the key is your liver is the most regenerative organ in your body. Okay? Your liver is the most forgiving organ in your body, and there's a reason for it. Because your liver is your detox, your liver and your kidneys. They are your detox organs. Okay? Keep your liver clean. The best way to keep your liver clean is to lower your crappy carbohydrates. Why? Because crappy carbohydrates convert to fat in your liver. Okay? So, get rid of liver spots, cut out your crappy carbs. All right. Denise, since I started very low carb eating, my son says my breath stinks all the time. Okay, what can I do about it? Well, I take some digestive enzymes. It could be more that because you're into ketosis, that sometimes will give you, what they call a ketotic breath. I like digestive enzymes. I like pickle juice. I like fermented foods. I like probiotics, okay? So thanks for the question. Eileen, is it possible still to have a UTI even if the urine results say it's gone? Yeah, it's possible. If you're feeling burning, okay, you could still have, but at the end of the day, okay, somebody else was asking this. I just got to see if I can get to it. Anyway, I don't want to go through all of it. So let me just say, look, if you have recurring urinary tract infections, you know what I've always said. It's really not bacteria, it's yeast. And I would suggest to you, Eileen, that if you feel like you still have a UTI when your urine test or whatever says it's gone, you probably have yeast there in the bladder. So leaky gut, leaky bladder. So I'm big on getting rid of fungus because it's a yeast problem, okay? It's a yeast problem. Roxanne, what are my thoughts on hearing loss causing dementia or Alzheimer's? I don't know if it causes it. I know there's a link between hearing loss and Alzheimer's and dementia. And, you can imagine there's been some studies at that if you have hearing loss, that you're more susceptible to it. As far as it causing it, I don't think so. I've always talked to you about the cause of Alzheimer's and dementia. It's food. Remember what they called Alzheimer's? Discovered in 2005? Type 3 diabetes, they called it. And that got poo-pooed. They didn't like that name because the food industry don't like when you call them on it. But the best thing you can do to prevent Alzheimer's, the best thing is to lower your crappy carbohydrates. And then, of course, I'm big on high DHA, on brain. I'm big on vitamin E, the real vitamin E exercise. I'm big on probiotics. Okay? The blood-brain barrier and protecting the brain. Okay. Thanks for that question. We appreciate it, Roxanne. What causes shakes in the hands? Well, that's from I don't even know how you would pronounce this. KJS. Kiss. I don't know. Thanks for the question, though. Well, look, the idea is to get a differential diagnosis because shake in the hands can be what they call essential tremors. That can come from high stress and low B12. I always look at B12 because that's a nerve vitamin. Okay, is B12, and I'm big on looking at that. Vitamin D, to some extent, could do it to an essential tremor. But the differential diagnosis, you've got to make sure that it's not the start of Parkinson's. Okay? Now, usually with Parkinson's, you lose balance and your muscles become more rigid and things like that. But always have to differentiate that. And today with all the toxins, who knows that essential tremors is not, to some extent, toxins too. Okay, thanks for the question. Marianne, trying to settle nerves in my neck from burning mouth. Yeah, that's no fun, is it? Thought vitamin E would help. Well, vitamin E not going to hurt. Vitamin E not going to hurt. Get your exercise. You know me, Marianne. Get strong. I'm big on that. Get strong. It helps everything. Get strong. Okay. Susan, what do you say about sleep stages that are backwards? Weird. Look, Susan, you know me. Everyone's different. Put your thumb up. Everyone has different fingerprint. Everyone. There's what, 7 point whatever it is billion people on the planet. There's not one person that has the same fingerprints. You're unique. I don't use the word weird anymore. It's the woke police don't want me saying weird. Okay? You're weird. I can't say that. You're peculiar. You're unique. I'm sure there's other people that got their sleep, the stages of sleep backwards. Wouldn't be the only one. Okay? But at the end of the day, Susan, you got to do everything you can to get a good night's sleep. Okay? And usually your fourth and fifth stage is where you get the REM, and this is where you get the recuperative, where your glial cells, your lymphatic system is really, really detoxifying at that time. Okay, so maybe you're getting it at the start of your sleep at night. Hey, good for you. Everybody's different. Okay, Joanne, my doctor told me I have synovitis and tendinosis. Taking inflammation, DHA, vitamin D. What else do I do? Cut your sugars out. Cut your sugars out. No sugars. Why? Because they cause what we call glycated end products. That's where protein, not protein from food, but protein inside your body, the sugar attaches to that. And it really sort of calcifies and takes away synovial fluid and elasticity in your joints, in your skin, whatever. I'm big, get rid of sugar if you have that. And then you're doing the other things that I like. Okay? Rosa, what are my thoughts on chanca piedra? They call it the stone breaking supplement. Well, I'm not against it. Okay? I've seen some studies where it can be pretty effective. I think if people get recurring kidney stones or whatever, it's worth a try. But, here's me, okay? Apart from chanca piedra. Drink water. When you look at stones, 75% of them are oxalate. They're calcium stones. Be careful with that. It's another reason I like vitamin K2. And the other 25% are uric acid stones. And gallbladder is different in a way because they're calcium stones, cholesterol stones, but that's because you're not using your gallbladder. That's how people get them. Okay? That's how people get them. But I'm big on water drinking, kidney function. Cut out your sugars. Your kidneys will work far better when you got no sugar. And especially don't drink fructose, because that elevates your uric acid. Okay. Rosa, thanks for the question. Rita, would you, Dr. Martin, kindly address the 3 different types of SIBO? And will the protocol for EMC and low carb rid the body of all these types? Well, I'm not big, Rita, okay? I'm not big on SIBO, because I'm big on SIFO. And I know there's different bacteria that are present. It's like the bladder, Rita. When you get a urinary tract infection, I understand it. No fun at all. But underlying in the bladder wall is a yeast that forms there. It's candida. It's a fungal. In the gut, small intestine, what they call in medicine, they actually call it, most doctors don't know about it, but there actually is a condition called SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. So they look at an overgrowth and they go, that's bacterial, we're going to give you antibiotics. And I actually, you go online and a lot of times, don't take probiotics, that makes it worse. You know what, guys, I don't know what to say about that, because it gives me a migraine. It gives me a migraine. Because it's not SIBO, it's SIFO. It's fungal. It's yeast overgrowth. That's the bottom line of that. So you got to get rid of that. So no sugar. The best thing you can do is take a broad spectrum probiotic. Okay? The best thing you can do. We developed a digestive enzyme for SIFO. What do we put in it? Oil of oregano. Nothing better to kill fungus. Okay? So, anyway, the 3 types, I know, I've read all about it, Rita, but I just don't agree with it. It's not bacterial, it's fungal. Okay. Diane, just wondering about the fermentation process. I love fermented foods. Kefir, sauerkraut, pickles, vinegar. I love all that stuff. It's fermented foods. It's good for you. How much probiotic? Well, you're not going to get a broad spectrum probiotic, and you're not going to get billions, but it's still good for you. But I still have people, and I tell them, you need probiotics. We live in a different world today. Okay? We live in a different world, and even the food that we eat, okay? It's hard not to get, untainted food. Okay. Debbie, I'm presently in Sarasota, Florida. Beautiful. Getting my vitamin D. Beautiful. My question is about red tide. Yeah, red tide, that's where you got that algae. And look, unless you're immune compromised and you got real trouble with your lungs or whatever, like I wouldn't necessarily go swim in it. It depends. If you don't have any compromise at all, I wouldn't be too worried about it. But, for people that got bad lungs or whatever, maybe they got to watch it, okay? With algae. Yeah. It's usually seasonal or whatever. And I wouldn't ruin my holiday over it. Okay. Larry, can I say a few words about skin cancer? Well, here's 3 basic types, Larry. I talk about this all the time. You got basal cell, squamous cell, and melanoma. Okay? Melanoma is the deadly cancer. Okay? And guess when it happens? When people are not in the sun. Melanoma is a much more aggressive, can be very deadly cancer, and it really has very little to do with the sun. As a matter of fact, well, it does. But it's the opposite of what people think, because melanoma are people that work indoors, generally. Okay? It's not produced by the sun, it's produced by the lack of sun. That's the number one factor. Now, there's other factors. Now, basal cell is when you burn in the sun. Is it deadly? No, you don't die from basal cell carcinoma. And even squamous cell carcinoma, it's a little bit more aggressive. And don't burn in the sun. I'm not big on burning in the sun. And I don't like sunscreen because I believe basal cell, squamous cell, and melanoma is the overuse of chemicals in sunscreen. Add the heat from the sun to it. It's not the sun's fault. But when you add chemicals and heat in a high school chemistry class, you can have trouble. Okay? Ask a guy that just about blew up a lab. Okay. Larry, that's what I got to say. Joanna, is creatine safe for adults? Yep. Yeah, you can take creatine. Okay? And I like bone broth better as far. You want to ask me what's better? Is bone broth protein, because it's a collagen protein. It's better for you. I like creatine. No, I got no problem. I want to take a creatine protein powder or whatever to get extra protein. The best thing is to eat your protein, though. Much better than taking that. Okay? But I got no problem with it. It's safe. Yeah, sure, it's safe. Because when they tell you it isn't safe, it's because doctors misunderstand protein. I hate to be negative. But, protein causes, it's hard on your kidneys. Nah, it's not hard on your kidneys. What's hard on your kidneys is carbohydrates. Crappy carbs are hard on your kidneys. Sugars are hard on your kidneys. Not protein. Okay? But there's better proteins. Okay, Carol, does eating almonds cause inflammation? Not really, no. But I wouldn't live on almonds. You know what I mean? Like with people that live on almonds and they look, a little snack or whatever, I got no problem with that. You want to have some almonds for a snack? Enjoy. Just don't live on them. They're high in oxalates. Okay? Cheryl, is flaxseed safe every day to eat? Absolutely. I like flaxseed. Why? You guys should know this. Lignans. Stopping breast cancer. Stopping prostate cancer. Lignans. It blocks extra estrogen. That's why I like flax seeds. I even allow flax seeds to be used on the reset. Okay? Now, if you got diverticulosis or diverticulitis, you need to be careful with any kind of seed. But they're the best seed by far because of the amount of lignans in there that block that extra estrogen. And we live in a crazy estrogen world. Brenda, what would cause a sudden sensitivity to the sun? Red, itchy bumps after being in the sun on lower legs. What can I take? Well, I would, look, it's possible, that perhaps, people get sensitivity to the sun. I feel sorry for them. But, you be careful, right? You don't want to overexpose yourself, okay? Remember, in 20 minutes, you get 10,000 IUs of vitamin D. So just cover up you might try, I like Ribera. I found it to be very good for any kind of sensitivity to use it right on, or coconut oil. Try that. Suggestions for stomach ulcer. Well, if you got a stomach ulcer, it's usually caused by a bacterial H. pylori, and the fact that a person has had low acidity and in their stomach, not high acidity, low acidity in their stomach, and then the body starts to try and produce more. Look, you got to fix that digestion, okay? In the meantime, like, try digestive enzymes, and don't eat at night at all. Let the body, and you might try a little bit of ginger, a little bit of peppermint oil or whatever. Like, I call them mucilages to coat the stomach, okay? Joyce, what does Dr. Martin feel about red rice yeast? Well, they use that as a supplement. They've been doing it for years to lower cholesterol. I always said, well, why are you trying to lower cholesterol? Okay, now red rice yeast, it's a fermented product. I'm not against it. But when they tell you they're doing it to lower cholesterol, that's to keep your doctor happy, but that's not going to keep your body happy. Why are you trying to lower cholesterol? Okay? And there's no bad cholesterol. Okay? There's no bad cholesterol. And red rice yeast works like a statin drug. Okay? It does. But why do you want to take a statin drug, even a natural supplement, to lower your cholesterol? I don't get it. It's wrong. It's faulty science. Don't do it, in my opinion. Okay? Okay. A couple of more and we're almost done. Lena, what I would like to confirm, if cheese made from cow cheese can cause mucus. For some people it can. You know, when they put out a blanket statement that dairy is inflammatory, that gives me a migraine. It's brought to you by people that don't like dairy. Okay? Now, for some people, they don't do well with dairy. They usually can do well with cheese, usually. But not all people. Some people can't even have cheese. They got leaky gut. They got sort of an autoimmune going on in there, and they don't break down cheese. Well, then don't have it. And sometimes by going on the reset without the cheese and just lowering all markers of inflammation and probiotics and that, and a lot of people have found, Dr. Martin, I couldn't eat cheese. I used to get a lot of mucus. Now I can eat cheese. Don't bother me. Yep, you can regenerate. Okay? But I don't like the idea of that, you know, can you ask why on blood work some marker like GGT would it be high and all the other liver markers are good? Well, that can happen, Cheryl. You probably still have a little marker of fatty liver, okay? If one of the markers is high, they don't all have to be high. I've seen that. I see that every day just about in blood work, that only one marker of liver is up. It usually tells me that they still got some form of fatty liver, and they got to continue to be very careful. Okay, Jen, my friend has tried to reset every time she cuts out sugar and carbs. She breaks out in an itchy red rash around her ribs. Okay, well, tell her to stick to it. You don't need carbs and sugars. If you do, you're probably an addict. So tell your friend Jen that Dr. Martin said, yeah, you know, you're a little bit unique. But things like that happen. Stick to the plan. It's good for everyone. Okay? Sandy, do you think if I add more weight-bearing exercises, I can or will build up my bones? Yep. Can you reverse osteoporosis? I've seen it thousands and thousands of times. Get on vitamin K2. Make sure your vitamin D levels are good. And get strong. The stronger the muscles, the stronger the bones. Simple as that. Because when you strengthen your muscles, they're anchors into your bones. They're anchor in there. And the anchor solidifies, it calcifies, gets strong, calcium inside that bone. The more you stretch on that muscle and pull it, the more the bones will appreciate it. Okay, guys. Thanks for all the questions today. I hope I answered all of them. Have I told you lately that I love you? Yesterday. Okay. Well, I'm going to say it again today. And you guys are the smart. What can I tell you? Every time I give you a little quiz, you know the answers. Unreal how smart my audience is. Guys, we love you. You can share this and tell other folks about the podcast, the Doctor Is In podcast, that they can download on their smart device. We appreciate that. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.